Hello and welcome to Queer Cinema Catch-Up's review of Yellowjackets Season 3, Episode 4, which was called 12 Angry Girls and One Drunk Travis. I'm not quite sure why they were saying Travis was drunk. I didn't see any evidence of that throughout the course of the episode, but they have titled it 12 Angry Girls and One Drunk Travis because this episode features a trial that the girls put on back in the wilderness to find out if Coach Ben is guilty of trying to burn the cabin down in the season 2 finale while all the girls were still inside of it. They ultimately do find him guilty, and we don't quite yet know what that means. We'll probably find out in episode 5. Meanwhile, in the adult world, we have Shauna and Misty still in a disagreement because Shauna believes that Misty damaged her brakes, even though she found out that it's not the case. Her brakes were just faulty. But even so, she doesn't really want to interact with Misty. And she has to in this episode because her husband, Jeff, has decided they have bad karma because of all the strange murder things they've done. And so he's decided that they need to volunteer, and he brings them very conveniently to Misty's place of employment, which is a nursing home. And while there, they get into a further argument. Misty fantasizes about killing Shauna and then leaves, saying it's not healthy. And then Shauna ends up locking herself in the freezer of the nursing home and interacting with the ghost of Jackie. Meanwhile, Thaisa and Van go on a very strange journey where they seem to really believe that the cards, like the Queen of Hearts or whatever it is that chooses someone and invokes it and results in the need to murder someone so that good things will happen to them. They've decided this is real, even though they are adult women, living out in the world. And so they buy a deck of cards and they put the queen on the side of a street and they wait until the card picks somebody, follow this man around. Thaisa's like, yeah, let's go inside and I guess kill him. And then Van's like, no, we shouldn't. And then Thaisa goes, oh, okay, I'll see you later. Meet me at the park. And then later they go on a date. Meanwhile, it's established that Lottie is in some sort of city, probably New York because this show is set in New Jersey. And she talks to Thaisa on the phone and Thaisa goes, where are you? Oh, and by the way, Shauna was also in New York because, for this good karma mission that Jeff and Shauna are on, Jeff wants to find a lost cat that's been missing for 2 years. So Shauna goes into the city to purchase a cat that looks like this cat to help Jeff on his karma mission. And why does all this matter? Because they're clearly setting up some sort of mystery. Because the big twist at the end of the episode is that adult Lottie, is dead, which is kind of shocking and kind of out of left field and a little strange in terms of a plot choice. But yeah, she's dead, and she was in New York. Her body's found in New York, and all Shauna and Thaisa were both in NYC, and so I guess they're trying to set up some sort of were one of these women involved in killing their friend. Unclear. And I guess, plot summary aside, this wasn't my favorite episode of Yellowjackets. I so far have preferred episode 3 out of all of the ones that have aired so far. And I think it's because the story just isn't really getting into our characters. I feel like it's very interested in the plot mechanics. We have this kind of mock trial situation happening. There's even a joke about that. Ben's like, oh, well, now I'm stuck here in this wilderness about to go through a mock trial. My life's probably over. But it really did read like that. And I guess it makes sense. These are teen characters playing at justice, but it just felt very silly. And it's a lot of plot regurgitation, a lot of interviewing of witnesses, and not really a lot of emphasis on each of these girls and their relationship to Coach Ben, their relationship to one another. There's little moments where you kind of get a sense of where they stand, but it's very set piece driven and not really in-depth focus on any one person at a time. And it really made me think about the contrast between this show and Lost, which of course I think is always going to be a comparison when you're talking about Yellowjackets because of the plane crash component. And I think in Lost you had a lot of similar elements, like a mysterious force. In Lost it was on the island. Perhaps there was something that mattered that had brought them all there. What could it be? What was the mystery? You had characters who believed in it, like John Locke, and characters who were very skeptical, like Jack. And there were certain crazy pieces, mystical things like the smoke monster. In Yellowjackets, they call the wilderness it. It seems to have its own agenda. And there's a mystery around how real that is, what it could be, what are its intentions, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of theorizing. Back in the day, it was on message boards for Lost. Now it's on Reddit and other social media platforms. And I think that's all really fun. But I think for a show to really work, it has to be about the mystical, the supernatural, the plot, and about the characters. And I was just thinking a little bit about how there was an episode of Lost where the characters Jack and Saeed have to interrogate a character Sawyer because they believe he's committed some sort of crime against the community, which is that he's stolen the asthma medication that another character needs. And they kind of go through the motions of an interrogation in the same way that the girls go through the motions of this fake trial. But this episode isn't really about did this character do this? Did this character not do this? You do get an answer, but it's that, and there's another layer to it, which is that Saeed in his past was a soldier who used torture to get information from people. And it's kind of this moral study of Saeed, and will he turn to torture again? Will he be brought to that point? And who is he as a man? And how has the island changed him or not? And I just think that kind of deeper level is missing in Yellowjackets in a way that makes me pretty disappointed at times and craving more. And it's not really a knock on the performances. All the actors are really great. Like, I'm thinking of the woman who plays young Shauna. You know, you sense her intense grief, how that's made her angry and willing to lash out, how much she feels that she deserves power within this group and how she doesn't feel she's getting it. And so in this episode, through the mechanics of the trial, she does sort of bring more of the girls onto her side and seems to take power away from Natalie. And it's this very striking moment at the end when they're coming to a vote on if Ben is innocent or not innocent. It has to be a 2/3 majority. They're not getting to the 2/3 majority until Shauna bullies them all into voting with her. And it seems like she's really taking control of the group. I think it would have been great to just let that sit. But instead they have Melissa, who is kind of Shauna's new romantic interest, say, see, Shauna, this is what I'm talking about. This is the feeling of power. And just a little bit too on the nose. And there are just too few moments of character beats, of shifts in relationships, of really zeroing in on those dynamics and who these girls were before the crash and after the crash, and what that means for them on like a deeper level. And I, as a result, feel more, I guess, bored while watching it at times. I will say my favorite moment of the episode was when adult Shauna gets locked in the freezer and begins speaking to dead Jackie. Dead Jackie basically says to Shauna, you know, this is the person you became. And the implication is it's not all that great. You're nothing special. And now you're going to die the same way that I did, because Jackie infamously froze to death in the season 1 finale. And we as viewers can choose to believe, is she really seeing dead Jackie? Is this a real hallucination? Is this the mystical magic of the show at work? Or is this Shauna's subconscious and a reflection of how she sees herself and her disappointments about life and the fears of meaninglessness? And all of the things that could make this show really great, because it is rife with potential for thematic and emotional resonance. And that was a moment in this episode where I felt like they got close. But in general, it was not quite hitting the mark for me. So I'd love to hear what you all think. What were your favorite moments? What were your least favorite moments? Are you enjoying this season? How does it compare to other seasons? Please let me know. And thanks so much for listening. Check out Queer Cinema Catch Up and our other podcasts, TV recaps, and more. Thanks so much.